Hello, everyone, and welcome to ReelQuick episode 45. Today is our Patreon sponsored movie review, and this week, suggested by Ben Hancy, we are watching The Age of Innocence, or we did watch The Age of Innocence. This movie was released in 1993, directed by Martin Scorsese. Definitely one of his more under the radar films in terms of if you ask anyone on the street to name 5 or 10 Martin Scorsese films, this is probably not getting mentioned. And it's starring Daniel Day-Lewis. So Daniel Day-Lewis paired with Martin Scorsese, two of the greatest at their craft. Quick synopsis of this movie. Wealthy lawyer Newland Archer, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, is engaged to sweet socialite May Welland, played by Winona Ryder, in 1870s New York. On the surface, it's a perfect match, but when May's beautiful cousin, Countess Ellen Olenska, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who is estranged from her brutish husband, arrives in town, Newland begins to question the meaning of passion and love as he desperately pursues a relationship with Ellen, even though she has been made a social outcast by Archer's peers. This is a period piece, as it mentions, from the 1800s, almost like a borderline costume picture with the production design and the costume design you see in here. Definitely, I don't have the official genre in front of me, but it's definitely a romantic drama. Clearly from the cast I mentioned with Daniel Day-Lewis, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Winona Ryder, they're not lacking star power whatsoever in this. It was nominated at the Oscars for Best Costume Design and Actor in a Supporting Role and Original Score, Adapted Screenplay. So it's based on a book, which kind of goes with the theme of this week. We were doing, book to film adaptations. This was nominated for 4 Oscars. I don't have in front of me if it won any. I don't think it did. But yeah, from that, we will get right into it. They did actually win the best costume design. I have that right there, but they were nominated for the other 3. I do think the costume designs were strong in this one, but we're going to kick it over to Seth's film reviews to start us off with his thoughts on The Age of Innocence.
Yeah, so I'll start off my rating. I rated this a 3 out of 5. I checked before. I think this is my 17th or 18th Scorsese, and this is my lowest rated Scorsese. Which says a lot about his films, considering this is still a positive rating at the end of the day. It's 3-star. I'm surprised I didn't like this more. I was ultimately left quite disappointed by this. I am quite fond of period pieces the majority of the time, if done well. And I do think this is well crafted. I think it's a well crafted, film on the blind obedience of tradition, on etiquette, social etiquette, and I think it's stylish. The costume design and then the production value are just brilliant, and it is great to look at. And there are some phenomenal shots, and I think Daniel Day-Lewis, Winona Ryder, the cast, and Michelle Pfeiffer, the cast is great, and there is definitely some fantastic performances in there. But it suffered for me from being probably overly long, and I tend to say that quite a lot. But I think with a film like this, I do think it was less than intriguing side characters. I would say I mentioned that in my review. There were some side characters which I just couldn't care less about. And I don't think they were fleshed out to what they need to be for the story. And my main sort of gripe with this film was the editing choices. I found the editing to be bizarre. There'd be a scene where it would fade into the same scene, which I found really, really annoying, to be honest with you, for the majority of the time. I know that's just a personal preference. And I think obviously this is a film where it's got narration over the top. I can't remember who narrated it, but I think it's a tough one to crack, and it's always a risky move having a narrator of a film. Didn't really work for me, and it kind of took me out of it. And when you're watching a film, you kind of want to be in the film and not be thinking about the fact it's a film. And I think it's a tough. You're walking on a tightrope with having a narrator, in my opinion. But yeah, it was a 3 out of 5. I think the pros, definitely the costume design, production design, great. There were some phenomenal shots, and the acting was all really, really good, as expected from this cast. But it just suffers from some pretty less than intriguing characters being slightly overly long and just some bizarre editing choices. But like I said, a 3 out of 5 is still positive for the most part. I did enjoy it. I think it goes back to what George said, which you can listen to on our Q&A. Set design, production value, it can make or break it. And if it's got that as well as this did, it's going to make me enjoy the film, even if I'm not that fleshed into the story. It's my lowest rated Scorsese out of the 17 or 18 I've seen, but I still rate it a 3 out of 5. So it was fine for me anyway.
George, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as Seth. I texted you guys while I was watching the movie saying like I don't like period pieces, and I don't write off the genre. Obviously, going into a movie directed by Scorsese that includes Daniel Day-Lewis, Winona Ryder, and Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm going in with an open mind, but I'm still going in hesitant. But I can't find myself becoming attracted to these kinds of films. Just the style of dialogue is just it just removes me from any enjoyment from this film. I think it's so annoying, and I hate to say that because I feel like that's just such like a shallow insult, I guess. But period pieces they've just never been my thing. And at the end of the day, like Seth said, the production design, the costume design, it's all gorgeous. This movie was beautiful to look at. But if I'm not enjoying the film, I just can't rate it highly, and I just not find myself invested in anything going on. The characters just felt a little one-dimensional, a little bland outside of Daniel Day-Lewis and Michelle Pfeiffer. The supporting cast didn't really do it for me. They didn't add anything. They just kind of felt there as plot device tools. And then, Seth, I'm happy you touched on the narration. I hate that. I hate it. And not like hate it across all film. I just hated it in this film. It just ran so long. Like sometimes, like some narration in this movie just ran for like 5 minutes straight. And I'm like, get to the fucking movie. Like, just get to the movie. Stop narrating. I know. Stop talking about painting on the fucking wall. But no, it's so hit or miss because I absolutely like respect this movie for like its technical achievement because the production design was crazy. There were so many shots where I was like, I didn't even think of this. Like, how do you think to put this one small detail in this one small frame? Go.
Sorry, Joe. I was just gonna say one thing I would say is this is kind of why eventually I'd like you to watch Barry Lyndon because Tyler, you can kind of attest to this. There is a narrator in Barry Lyndon. And it's a make or break, but I think in that sort of period piece, it works, in my opinion, anyway. And I think one thing that annoys me about a lot of period pieces, you're kind of just watching rich people do rich people shit. And it's like, I don't really care for a lot of it. Whereas in something like Barry Lyndon, sorry to obviously go back to that, but you are seeing a progression in life. You're seeing different events. Whereas in this, you're kind of just seeing events move over each other and you kind of watching rich people talk, pretty much.
Yeah, it's also like I don't know. I don't want to call this movie pretentious because that's obviously exactly what they're going for. It's a period piece in the mid 1800s about the wealthiest of the wealthy. But like I can't stand the opening opera scene. I wanted to rip my ears off. I was like, this is just not great. But this just felt like Martin Scorsese was like, I don't want to say he was like a swing because this man swings for the fences all the time, and for the most part, it pays off. But this seems like he like really just walked out of his comfort zone and he was like, you know what? I got Daniel Day-Lewis, I got Michelle Pfeiffer, I got Winona Ryder. Let's see what we can do here. Let's try a period piece. And I'm with Seth. This is my lowest rated Scorsese film. Unfortunately, I still give it a 3 out of 5. Which for me is just super average. I won't say I'm positive or negative on it. But yeah, overall, not my favorite Scorsese film. And it definitely didn't help out my my love or hate of period pieces.
Yeah, I think Martin Scorsese is known for most of his films being, bombastic banger of movies that are epic to the max, to the fullest, whereas this is a lot more reserved romantic drama, so it is definitely a little different than what we're normally seeing from him. I'm glad you mentioned the opening opera scene, because for me, like, I don't dislike period pieces probably as much as you, but I'm not a huge fan of them. So a movie like this style of movie is already going to take me a little bit to buy into. And that opening scene was just so drawn out and slow. And like, there's just so much footage of like the actual opera going on stage. And you just keep panning back and forth between like Newland, Daniel Day-Lewis, and like his gang. And then like you see Michelle Pfeiffer and them up there. And it's just, I just felt like we were in that opera for so long. And it was just like the worst way personally for me to hook me, to where from there, I just could never fully sink my teeth into this one. But I'll go to Cam now before I give the rest of my thoughts.
Yeah. So I have this at a 70 out of 100. It's kind of the initial score. We'll see where it lands. So it's a 3.5 out of 5. For me, this is kind of like what you guys touched on. And I hate how I feel like when we just talk so much, we just blend together as one voice. But it's like, this is one of those movies where I enjoyed the acting. I enjoyed the writing. I was fine with the narration, which was narrated by Joanne Woodward, by the way. Look that up. But I enjoyed this movie a lot in all of like like you guys mentioned, technical aspects, like the production design was insane. I think directing is really good. Just I just kind of feel bored, and that may just be coming with the period piece. And that's where, like, I always say I rate movies objectively. With obviously I don't, because it's impossible. But it's one of those things where, like, all of these points, like, I respect all of this from this movie. It's just doesn't always resonate with myself. Idiot superhero lover. But that's kind of my biggest takeaway, is that, like, I loved the production design. I like the acting. Obviously, you're gonna Michelle Pfeiffer, Daniel Day-Lewis, Winona Ryder. Not gonna be bad acting. No one's gonna like fumble the bag there.
This did feel like a very reserved Daniel Day-Lewis, though.
It did.
Yeah, I think he kind of has to be in this.
Right.
Yeah. Like, I think it's the character he's playing, but, like, it's a role. Like, I'm surprised he took this role, because I feel like he does.
Like, he's done a few reserved roles, hasn't he?
No, but, like,
I want to see his filmography.
Like he's very
where this late.
Him and Christian Bale are very similar in that they, like, I don't think they pick the movie, they pick the character. Because they want to they want to see how far they can stretch their acting ability. And this just seems like this is like a walk in the park for Daniel Day-Lewis. He's not doing anything crazy. He's not, he's not giving us a There Will Be Blood transformation type role. It's just, I was watching the movie, it's just very interesting that, like, he took this role. But then I'm like, if Martin Scorsese asks you to be in his movie, you're going to be in his movie.
Also, on his character, what kind of a name is Newland, man? I just thought
that's just like, it's just like, what's the name that makes him sound rich? I mean, it's based on a book, but it's like when you write the book, it's like, let's just make him sound rich. The name
Newland.
Yeah. I can't find his filmography easily laid out, but I'm interested to see where this falls, like, in what movie this was. Like, did he start off a little more reserved? Obviously, he's an older actor, so this isn't the start, but this is obviously before, a lot of other iconic roles of his. So
have you guys seen Last of the Mohicans by Michael Mann?
Yeah.
That was around, so it was a year after that. So I guess I'm trying to think, because Gangs of New York, he was quite out there. That Bloody was quite out there. Lincoln,
I mean, isn't out there necessarily, but, like, he's just fucking incredible.
Yeah,
I would say probably, like you said, Cam, it's kind of like progressed into that different role.
Yeah, like, maybe finding his footing as an actor. Obviously,
he won an Oscar 3 years earlier.
Oh, did he? That's what I was wondering.
For My Left Foot, yeah.
My Left Foot. And then was he in Gandhi? Like early 80s?
Early Gandhi.
Yeah, so.
Wonder what happened to his right foot.
Chill. Watch the movie.
I haven't seen My Left Foot, actually. I need to watch that.
Oh, is the movie not a good one to make that kind of joke?
He plays an autistic man.
Oh.
Jesus.
That's tough. I didn't.
Brilliant.
It's okay. Ignorance was bliss in that moment for you.
Yeah.
Tyler, what are your thoughts?
Yeah.
Or no. All right. So he has cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy, I think it is. Yeah.
My fault. That's probably worse on my part.
I agree with George's sentiment about the narration as well. I just really didn't care for it. I just found it to be, again, adding to this, just like unable to fully engage me into this movie, into the screenplay. I thought the production value was great. I thought the acting performances were solid. Like, this isn't anywhere near Daniel Day-Lewis's best or Scorsese's best, but that's more a testament to, like, their other works as opposed to ripping their work in this movie. But if we're gonna stack them up against all their other acting performances for Day-Lewis and directed movies for Scorsese, this is nowhere near the top for me. But still, they did solid. Like we mentioned, he had to be more reserved for this role. It's just the nature of it. And it's just a romantic drama at the end of the day, with the man kind of being a little playboy, thinking he's super smart and witty and cunning, and being able to kind of two-time everyone and pull fast ones. But pretty much everyone knows that he's not nearly as smart as he thinks he is. For me, I think I haven't officially stacked it up in my spreadsheet, but it's a 3, borderline 2.5, and the 2.5 would be just so much because of just purely enjoyment. Like, I think technically this movie is very well done, although I do genuinely have issues with the narration and think the editing, not only for the weird editing choices Seth mentioned, but I think just a lot could have been cut from this. I thought this could have been trimmed down 20-30 minutes, especially just like looking back at that opening scene. It was just so long, and I just didn't think it really needed to be. So for me, it's between a 2.5 and 3 out of 5. It's been one that I've been wanting to watch for a while, and like obviously eventually I want to get down both Daniel Day-Lewis's and Martin Scorsese's filmography. So this is a good two birds with one stone. But yeah, that's kind of where my thoughts end on it. I have there's a couple pieces of fun facts that I've got for this film. Not a ton of.
I think we're in the minority. You know, I know some people who think this is their
a lot of people
Scorsese.
love this. Like the Letterboxd,
which I kind of
understand.
crazy. If you're
I looked up a couple reviews, and they're all 4 out of 5 or higher.
Well, it's got a 3.7, so it's like it's not one of his lowest ones, but it's also not like a Goodfellas or a whatever. You know what I mean? It's not like that sort of.
Yeah, a lot of people
it's
love
his lowest rated movie. Yeah,
it is.
But Tyler, what are your
facts? It's not his lowest rated. On what? Sorry.
I assume you're talking Letterboxd. I said I wonder what his lowest rated.
I thought you said this is.
I think it's
no.
The one that everyone says is very, very similar to La La Land, I think. New York. I think it might be the one with Robert De Niro.
Synagogue, New York, or New York.
No, that's not Scorsese.
Okay.
New York. It's got Robert De Niro in. It's very similar to La La Land, apparently. I haven't seen it.
Interesting.
I think it might be that. Like a low 3, something.
Yeah, the only two fun facts I got here is so Daniel Day-Lewis, this is an earlier film in his filmography, but he's always been a method actor, and he checked himself into the Plaza Hotel as Newland Archer and lived there for 2 weeks wearing clothes suitable to his film's character, and he did that to get himself in the mindset of Newland. So yeah, even from his early career, he was... And I feel like this is probably the tamest method acting he did, where he's just like, I'm just going to live in this hotel for 2 weeks wearing the clothes and being named Newland Archer.
Imagine seeing someone, and maybe it wouldn't be as weird in 1993, but imagine someone today for like
100 years ago.
Yeah, someone now like checking into a hotel, and like you get pictures of like, we'll say Timothée Chalamet, and he's just dressed up for like 3 weeks and just talking like he's in the 1800s.
And calling himself Newland.
Yeah, and it's like, I would just be like, this guy's such a jackass. Like, go away. Stop talking like this. I'm narrating things in the 1870s or whatever. Like, get out of here.
I've always wondered, like, how far, because, like, there's plenty of method actors in Hollywood, but Daniel Day-Lewis is probably the most notorious for just getting so immersed into his roles where, like, he says he has to take a good amount of time between roles to just, like, become himself again and decompress because it's so intense. I always wonder how far of a method actor he goes. Like for Phantom Thread, like being a dressmaker, like could he?
Oh, he learned.
No, I know, but like could he could he be like levels of like Versace and Gucci creating their own like dresses? Like for Lincoln, could he literally stand up in like a political debate and like talk policy for like the 1800s policy? Like how far does he go?
What do you think he did for There Will Be Blood?
I bet he probably went down to BP and he's like, "Hey, can I just work these oil fields for a month? Let me pull some oil out this. Let me clean up this oil."
The viscosity of oil for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know what I find
abandoned his child for 2 years.
Do you know what I find so interesting about Daniel Day-Lewis? He's like, excluding his shorts, I think he's acted in like 20 films.
He's a very selective actor.
It's like, you think Joaquin Phoenix is
selective? It's 24. Sorry, I looked that up.
24, yeah.
I would call Joaquin Phoenix a selective actor.
Joaquin Phoenix is a selective actor. He's been notoriously selective about scripts he works with in the past. He's declined.
But like Daniel Day-Lewis is selective in a sense that he'll take one movie every 4 years.
No, but I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is known to be a selective actor in terms of comparatively to other people his age in Hollywood.
Yeah,
he declined scripts quite a lot. Whereas like Daniel Day-Lewis, started in like probably, I don't know, late 70s maybe. That's a guess, but and then he's done 24 films since then. Since 2017 anyway. That's kind of wild.
You guys think Daniel Day's coming back?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so.
You think he'd still have, here's a question. If he did, do you think he'd still have it? You think he'd still have that? Those shots?
Yes, of course.
How long has he turned it off for?
2017? 6 years?
So 6 years?
Of course he would.
I mean, 2017 before that was Lincoln, which was 2012. So he took a 5-year gap between Lincoln and Phantom Thread. I think he only comes back if it's like Scorsese or Paul Thomas Anderson, but I don't think he does.
I don't think he comes back.
How old is he? Probably in his mid-60s, maybe?
Yeah,
I already wanted to play Mr. Fantastic, but didn't get that role. So he's probably never coming back now.
That would be the biggest plot twist in like Hollywood history if Daniel Day-Lewis comes back. Like he's Kang is recasted to Daniel Day-Lewis or something.
Oh my god!
I truly think if Paul Thomas Anderson hands him a compelling enough script, he will come back.
Do you think?
I don't think so.
If it was going to be one director, it'd probably be
It would be Paul Thomas
Yeah,
Anderson, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much money do you think they'd have to throw at him to get him?
I don't
back?
even know if it's.
I don't think he's a money
money
guy.
thing.
I
don't
think
it's a money
I
thing
like-
at all.
I
it's
truly
probably
think he
obviously
goes to
money.
bed. I think he just goes to bed at night and he's like, I've won 3 Oscars. I've been nominated 6 times. Like
He's
I've
not
done,
that guy, is he?
I've done everything I've wanted to do in my acting career. I've explored every type of character, every type of genre that I wanted to explore. I don't think it has to do with money with him.
I agree.
I
think
would
it's like
also
the
say,
scripts.
like, good for him in the sense that he's. I feel like jobs like acting and directing, and like we'll talk John Williams. How old's John Williams right now?
90 something.
91. Retire, man. Like you can still make great
And, like-
music, and I'm glad you love it so much. But like, and I know it's not like a real job in the sense that I go to work for 8 hours every day. Like they can, if John Williams doesn't want to work today, he's not working today. I know it's different in that sense, but like retire. Just take
And,
time
like
for
Francis
yourself.
Ford Coppola, like stressing himself up
Yeah.
making a film.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
did
like-
a big sci-fi epic with like.
So in a
his
lot of
own
ways,
money.
I
That's
respect the
crazy.
shit out of this Daniel Day. Just I'm done.
I think
Yeah.
I think
I
the only
don't
way he
think
comes
it's
back is if it's like the most challenging role he's ever had, like something that just like completely makes him have to really
How old is he?
I'm gonna say
mid
64.
60s. He was born in
I'm gonna say
57,
64.
so he's 66.
Oh, 66. Okay, so he's I don't see it happening. I really don't.
He's got more Oscars than DiCaprio.
Has he got the
Christian-
most?
Yeah.
DiCaprio has won. He's like
Yeah.
notorious for like
I know.
not winning
That's what I'm
Oscars. So
saying.
like that was a bold like
It's
pull
like
there. I
Jack
feel like
Nicholson. How many Jack Nicholson got? 2. Yeah, he had 2. Yeah.
No, he's got 2 lead, 1 support.
2. I mean, two lead. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, has he got support as well?
Daniel Day-Lewis, the only male that has.
What did he get
3 Ws.
supporting in?
I
I didn't know he had a supporting. Interesting.
He does.
Batman,
Batman.
1989.
yeah, Batman.
Oh, really?
No, I just
No,
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 no.
I
no.
was gonna say.
No, that was a joke.
Oh.
then,
Name.
What?
Come on. Do you need me to look this up?
Can you
This
look
is
it up?
horrible
I'm
podcasting.
looking it up.
look
I
up
didn't
that.
think we were going to talk about Daniel Day-Lewis Oscar history or Jack Nicholson Oscar history.
Oh, Terms of Endearment. He
Terms of
did,
Endearment.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that makes
he
sense.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Final
Okay.
fun fact is Winona Ryder was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and she also won the Golden Globe, and she was nominated for a lot of the precursors for supporting actress in this role. And she had written a book report on this very
Cool.
novel in 9th grade.
Yep.
So
I
it's her
had that
destiny.
fun
It's
fact,
her
Tyler.
destiny.
I like that. Also, Daniel Day-Lewis and Michelle Pfeiffer share a birthday. Different years, but same April 29th.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Oh wow, it's soon.
yeah. Oh yeah, it is
Happy
soon.
birthday, Daniel.
So he's about to be
Day-Lewis.
66.
Daniel, if you're listening, happy birthday.
Yeah, you know he is.
Also, this actually might come out on his birthday, honestly. Like Thursday, because the 27th, right? Might.
Yeah,
Happy birthday.
no,
Oh,
29th. 29th is his
29th.
birthday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Damn,
Saturday.
I just missed it.
Well, let us be the first to wish you a happy birthday.
Yeah.
And I also wonder
No
for
one
like
else
method
will.
acting, like if he like cheats on like a significant other, his wife, like does he have to do that in real life? Is he like, sorry, honey,
gonna
this
say-
is
I'm
full
gonna
of the
say that
picture.
It's for a role, I swear.
Yeah,
I
it's
swear.
I'm gonna say that
Rule.
I really hope not. Anyway, but
Yeah, I
That'd be
definitely
the
don't think
funniest
so.
thing in the world if like every
Not
day
for
he
his
comes
wife.
home-
No.
Every single day he comes home and he's like, "Listen, I had to. It's for my role. I don't know what you want me to tell you."
These reviews
That
don't
that
play
wraps
with
up
it.
our review of
That's why he got out of the game.
The Age of Innocence by Martin Scorsese. So I'm giving it a 2.5 to a 3. Cam gives it a 3.5, and Seth and George give it a 3 out of 5. So we're all
7 out of
around the
100.
middle of the road on it. But I'd recommend checking it out because it is, a Day-Lewis, it is a Scorsese, it is on like the Letterboxd 1001 films you need to see before you die list. It's on Roger Ebert's like
Oh,
best
is it
movies of
really?
all time list. Like it's on a lot of people really hold this one very highly. So it's one worth checking out. Maybe you'll be higher on it than us because there's a lot of people that are higher on it than us. So maybe we're just people that just wasn't our cup of tea. But that wraps up our review. Thank you Ben Hancy for the suggestion for today's ReelQuick review, and we will see you in the next video.